Back when we were kids, we may remember that our parents would basically say that I would like my son or my daughter to become so and so when they grow up. But the thing is, did we actually become such? Most of the people that I know, they definitely did fulfill their parents' dreams, whether they liked it or not. Some became doctors, some became engineers, some became lawyers. These were the three fields that were primarily the ones that were extremely popular, right? But over the course of several years, I think that has completely shifted. And more so because most of these roles have become kind of redundant or become obsolete. Not necessarily saying that the doctoral or the engineering or the lawyers have ever become obsolete in whatever way, but it has become far more challenging and far more requiring regular certifications and updates to their credentials, which does not always serve the purpose in the best possible way. So the question comes down to today, for example, when we have kids today, us who basically grew up fulfilling our parents' dreams, the question is, what do we end up hoping that our kids will be when they grow up, or what field will they choose? The thing is that it is so uncertain today that we cannot even begin to suggest what our kids should be in the future. You may have seen the rat race of going after AI and learning about AI. Well, to be honest with you, I'm kind of like in that same frame as well. I am using AI for a lot of things, not just specifically having conversations with, but more to do with developing solutions. I'm loving it, to be honest. I would say that. But having said that, at this juncture, I would say that even I am not able to tell about myself that going now from here to next 5 years, what will become and where things will be. So having to predict or even suggest to my kids what they should be in the future, which is at least 10 years down the road, right, is very difficult. I don't think in any way it is practical to suggest that. Most kids will figure those out themselves. I know for a fact, Alhamdulillah, my kids are very smart. Alhamdulillah, Hassan is very smart and he's been able to figure out a lot of things on his own, learned a lot of things through school and through play at home. And he does a lot of things that I could not have imagined myself doing at his age. Yet, as much as I am in complete awe and complete bewilderment as to how he does it, well, I guess that's the case with every single parent that is there. But the thing is that what really is something that probably does not necessarily worry me, but I am definitely thinking about it as to how we as adults, as parents today, can make lives easier and simpler for our kids of today who will be there tomorrow, who will be taking on this brave new world and have to be even more braver to take on the challenges that come their way, which were never there for us. We were at the intersection of having to see a basic television with dials and black and white, which I've actually seen, by the way. I'm 49 now, so obviously in the 70s and the 80s, we've seen a lot of things. So I've seen from the black and white TV with dials and knobs to the color TV with dials and knobs, and then eventually having a remote control, moving from a rotary phone to a pad phone, and then moving on to a wireless phone, and then on to a cell phone, which was basically the Nokia 3310s and the likes, Motorola's and that sort, black and white, and then moving to getting my first black and white phone, and then moving on to having the first colored phone, and then a music player or Walkman phone. I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember that if you're my age or in my territory of 90s kids, right? So you have those phones, and then going from there to having the iPhone or the Android phones, and then coming to where you're not just staying at that, but they become smarter. And now we have tons of apps, tons of tools and technology that we can master within a short period of time. We have online courses. We went from studying in school in person to going completely online, virtual classrooms and virtual meetings and everything. Then we had COVID, which posed another set of challenges. I really feel for those parents who actually had to go through of having their kids home most of the time, studying at home. Man, those kids really face challenges. Trust me, they did. As much as we did working from home, and we still do, by the way, we still work from home, our kids actually had to go through a lot. And the kind of situation that those kids have had, I can see that. It does puzzle me as to how this ended up being so bravely managed. But at the same time, I'm lucky in a way that my kid was born in 2021, late 2021, so he never faced any of that. We never had the quarantine situation when he was a kid. So all of that went okay. And then in 2023, when Sarah was born, we were completely out of the COVID blues altogether. But having said that, all of that has happened in the short span of the last 5 years. So much has changed. And you cannot come to imagine as to what more can change over the next few years. Okay, come back. Even the next 2 years. I'm not even sure about what's going to happen in the next 2 years. So, if we're not even sure about what's going to happen in the next 2 years, how can we predict or how can we suggest what our kids potentially will become or will be, or what sort of fields that they will take on, or what sort of expertise they will take on when they grow up in about 10 to 15 years when they join the workforce, or let's say if they want to start a hobby project or something, whatever they like to do. So these are thoughts in my head as to how we should train our kids to be flexible or rather agnostic as to what comes their way, they can take on things. So the one of the first things that I want to do as my kids start growing up a little bit more is to start getting them skilled up in just about everything that they can, starting from the handyman kind of work, where basically carpentry or these kind of things actually involved. This reminds me that I have missed a couple of appointments for Home Depot workshops. I need to get to that. But having said that, these are so important life skills. My dad taught me all of these, and I definitely cherish each one of them. And then on top of that, having to go through robotics, having to go through machine learning, having to go through any of those life skills that need to be and are there so that they can understand the concepts primarily of what things are like and how they can be, and then take it from there. Because if you know the root concepts of things, you're able to make anything happen. But if you don't know the concepts, you're running after things which don't really make sense or do not really amount to real outputs. So I think as parents, it is very important for each of us to understand this fact that in this day and age, the idea should be teach our kids and make them wealthy in concepts, how things work, and then let them take the steering wheel and take things forward so that they can then tell that, okay, we are thankfully rich in the knowledge of how things work or the concepts of things, and then they can maneuver their way through the future because at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what the future will be like. We don't even know again. The last next 2 years, we don't know. The last 2 years have been a whirlwind with a lot of AI and a lot of ChatGPT and Claude and OpenClaw and whatnot. There's absolutely no telling what's going to be there even the next year. So we should basically be giving them the reins of things in their hands so that they can steer it. We can guide them. We can mentor them in the best possible way. But the most important thing is let them go their way, search for their own passion, search for their own fulfillment of their dreams. And even if it means, like Hassan says, Baba, can I be a fireman when I grow up? And I was telling him, yes, you can. Never say no. Give them a choice. Let them have it. Because today they have their dreams. Tomorrow it'll be reality hitting them hard. But the thing is that if you are able to fulfill your dreams in whatever way that you can today, in this day, in this age of what the children are, I think that it will open up their minds to a lot of possibilities. Let the possibilities go forth and make their dreams come true.